interesting. Okay, so we flopped well, but there is a low draw out there. But I like to charge the lows. Most of the time, if you get action on a flop like this, somebody's got the hand that you don't want to see, which is like ace 3-5, 3-5-6, those type of hands, which have really good equity against you. Obviously, we're going all in, but hopefully he has a smaller set, is what you hope for. He has an open ender and kings. We hold. He turns a flush draw, so that's a good hold there because he had pretty good equity there. 2 backdoor flush draws, an overpair, and an open ender. So he's actually sitting pretty good. And I lead here because I have the dry ace in my hand, so I'm representing like the nut flush draw, which has a little bit of weight to it, I think. And if I get called, I can come back into a low and that kind of thing. This is a pretty light defense here. This is kind of like a double suited trashy hand, but I'm going to go ahead and defend here. Not really looking to make too many plays on players that are buying in short, and let's say he has kings or aces here. If he bets big, he's just going to go with it, and you're just lighting your money on fire by trying to get him off his hand when he bets, you know, a quarter of a stack, and they just don't fold those hands if they have them, so I just give up. We've got a double gutter here and a king high flush draw. I'm just going to go ahead and lead and looking to take it down right here. Obviously, we don't have any backdoor low, and I'm not sure what to do if they raise. I would probably ditch this hand. Maybe if this guy raised seat 4, I would maybe call, but anybody else, I'm probably done with it. And that's a bad card because it gives him the low backup draw, and he could have aces up, and it just basically makes it to where he's going to call me a lot here. So I don't like betting again. I would like just check calling or check folding. And we backed into the nuts, but he might have a low too. And well, we have 2 10s in our hand though. I think we have the nuts. Maybe I should bet a little smaller because I don't really. He just snap folded, which is weird. This is the hands. This is the type of players I like to make notes on. The ones that open limp the button, like that's usually like a weak player to me. Like so, I like to color my players. So I go to notes, and he's seat 6, and I gave him a yellow. Yellow is like somebody who is just too passive. People not aggressive enough and don't bet their hands when they should, and call too often when they should be folding or raising. Those type of players are pretty easy to play against. So that's kind of a limping hand on the button, but I still would come in for a raise. Yeah, I like to just take control of the hand, and I'm not a big fan of limping very often, except for early position. So I would have raised with this hand on the button. I don't know if it would have played out any differently or not. 3-7-9-9 with 1 suit, getting 7 to 1 to call. This is kind of just a trash hand that I don't know. I probably should just fold. So I noticed the one aggressive player that was sitting here with a lot of money left, which I don't know, and the 2-4 is back open. And like I said earlier, I like to look for tables that have a high average pot, high number of players per flop, which is your VPIP. You're voluntarily entering the pot. This number here, you want that to be higher the better, in my opinion. Same with the average pot. You want to play in games where people are gambling and people are given a lot of action. This is a min raise, Jack 2-7. I'll call in position here. I might switch over to the 2-4 table though, so he checks, which is interesting. Yeah, usually they're checking like they're either trying to check raise you, or they're checking like because they have like ace deuce or something that kind of got counterfeited that doesn't really hit that board. And but the game Plo8 is different because they could be check calling with like a low draw, or they could be check calling in spots where in a lot of poker games it seems bad, but in Plo8, it's probably correct to check call there with a number of different hands that he can have. So just by him checking doesn't necessarily mean he's as weak as you would be in another game. I was going to call his raise with this hand, this double-suited good high-only hand. But when he 3-bets, I don't like to call here. I'm only in for 3, and this guy can potentially 4-bet, which I wouldn't like at all. So I'm just going to get rid of that one. And I did see a good guy buy in for the minimum, which is good. I like to see those type of players in the game. And then this guy buys in the max, which is bad, because usually good players are buying in for the max. They're constantly reloading for the max, and they're the type of players you typically don't want in your games. The short stackers and the people who are taking shots are what I like to see in my games. People who are playing on money they aren't really bankroll for. That was interesting. He raises under the gun and then folds to a 3-bet, which doesn't happen a lot unless he's just on a pure steal. I'm surprised. That's a pretty uncommon play to somebody to raise under the gun and Plo8 6-max and then fold to a 3-bet when they're both 100 big blinds deep. Yeah. This hand, you could 3-bet here, but I don't have any backup low cards, and I'm not sure. Actually, I think I am going to 3-bet because I could put a lot of pressure on this guy who has to worry about calling because he's got him behind. Let's say he flats the 57. He's got to worry that seat 1 doesn't decide to just shove all in, and then because I'm going to isolate, if he flats 57 and seat 1 shoves all in for 180, I'm all in for 760, which, I mean, that's a big decision. See, that's what happened here. Is he raised the, that's surprising that seat 1 folded too, but he had posted, which is another sign of somebody who I don't think is that great of a player, somebody who posts without waiting for the big blind in a 6-max game when they're only buying in for the absolute minimum. So I should note seat 1 is probably green, which is the second worst spot. I go in red is the best players, orange is a good winning player, yellow is passive, weak type player, green is like a losing bad player, and blue is just your dream scenario, the whale, the biggest fish you could find, the great action, like you dream about the blue players. So I'm going to give seat 1 a green because he posted when he didn't wait for the big blind, and then he called a raise, I don't know, from early position and then to fold it to a 3-bet. I don't know. That's not horrible. I mean, but it's definitely a losing play. I'll say it like that. Ace 5 king queen, ace 5 jack queen. I'm sorry, with ace 1 suit, flop top pair and a okay low draw. 3 ways. Both the blinds call, which I don't like because a lot of times they're calling with a better low than me, especially like somebody in the small blind if they're a good player. So I don't have a flush draw. I don't have a backdoor flush draw, and he's betting pretty strong. He's betting like almost pot into both of us. I'm going to go ahead and fold here. But I just don't like it. There's not a lot of cards on the turn that I'm like, if I can't hit my card on the turn and be happy with my hand, comfortable with betting or raising with it, then I don't like to call. This is a hand I might limp 3-bet if somebody raises. Ace 3 4 queen double suited. It's not a bad hand at all. I wish the 3 or 4 was a deuce, but sometimes you got to take what you can get. So, in an unraised pot, 4 ways with only the bottom gut shot and the second nut low draw, I'm basically in check fold mode here. If anybody bets, I'm just done with it. I'm not going to go crazy. You want to be calling with hands that you can scoop with, and if there's really not a lot of cards that you can scoop the pot with potentially, then you shouldn't really be in the hand. I might have the best low here with the ace 4, which is the second nut low, but some of these players could be limping with like ace 4 also. I don't know. I'm not sure here. What usually happens in this situation, so I might just call for educational purposes, is usually happens this guy either has 4-5 or he has ace-4 and something, or maybe he has ace-deuce and now is betting. So the only hand that I really like him to have is 4-5, because that would mean that I have the best low. And so if he has ace-deuce or if he has 4-5, then he's always going to bet the river pretty hard, and I'm only ever getting half of the pot at most. So that's my read. I probably should have folded the turn, but I'm going to go ahead and call and hope that he has 4-5, which he could very easily. See, he has me quartered. He had ace-4 and a better high. So,